Number 20, it says find the function, or write the function in vertex form. So what do we have here? We have a standard form quadratic trinomial equation, and one option is to complete the square because ultimately you want it to look like this. That's vertex form right there. Y equals a, parentheses, x minus h, close parentheses, squared plus k. Now we already know the a value tells us if it's opening up or down, if it's vertically stretched or compressed. The h value tells us if it's translated left or right. The k value tells us if it's translated up or down. However, the problem is it's not in vertex form, it's in standard form. Now the vertex form equation, why do they call it vertex form? Because your vertex is the coordinate h comma k. Okay, your vertex is hk. I apologize, it's kind of ugly. But yeah, your vertex is hk. So if, wow, it's getting uglier. So if you had your graph of this guy, if you had your graph of the equation, you'd be able to look at your vertex and you would at least know the h and k values that belong right here and here. So the thing is, we don't have a graph. But I do know that I could actually find the vertex of a standard form equation. You guys remember how to do that? It is definitely negative b over 2a. So your vertex is going to be a coordinate, and the x value of that vertex will be negative b over 2a. So let's work this out. X equals, and it's going to be negative b, parentheses, over 2 times parentheses. So the b value is 20, and the a value is negative 2. So what do we really have? We have negative 20 divided by negative 4, which means that the x value is 5. So the vertex x value is 5. How do we find the y value once we already have the x? Plug it in, right? So what we need to do is go back to the quadratic trinomial equation, and instead of x's, put parentheses. So there it is. What I'm going to do is plug in the vertex x value of 5 into the parentheses. There's a 5 right there and a 5 right there. Let's work this out. I'm going to have a negative 2 times 25 plus 20 times 5 is 100. Take away 48. So I really have negative 50 plus 100 take away 48. So what I really have is 50 take away 48, which means our answer is 2. So our y value is 2. Ladies and gentlemen, if I know my vertex, I really know my h value and my k value. If I take a look at the original equation, I know that the a value is what? Negative 2. So if I know that my a value on the original equation is negative 2, and I just found the h value, which is 5, and the k value, which is 2, now I should be able to write it all in vertex form. So there it is, guys, the standard form, not standard, the vertex form equation. So all we need to do is plug in the a, h, and k. So you have y equals, a is negative 2, parentheses, x minus h. So that's going to go in as a minus 5, close parenthesis, squared, plus k, and k is simply a 2. So here is your standard form, not your standard form, your vertex form equation, which is obviously b. Got it? Let's move on to page number 3, guys. Okay, we're on number 21. It says divide those polynomials. And yeah, it looks like there's only one of these on the test. So we have to use either long division or synthetic division. I believe synthetic is the best option for number 21. So what goes inside the box? A negative 3. And what goes as the coefficients of the other ones? There is a 3, there is a minus 15, and there is a 6. There's the line. I'm going to bring down the 3, and negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. And then when I combine those guys, I get negative 24. And when I multiply 3 times negative 24, I get negative 72. Is that right? Positive 72. Thank you for the correction. A negative times a negative is a positive. And the last value I get is 6 plus 72, which is 80. No, 78. What does the matter with me? Can't add right now. So 78. That is the remainder, ladies and gentlemen. So remember, if this is your remainder, then this is your constant without a variable. That means that this is your x value. So your answer is 3x minus 24, and then plus, a lot of people forgot the plus on the last test, 78 over the original divisor, x plus 3. If we take a look at those answers, D is the only one that has that. Let's move on to number 22. Feel free to stop me, guys, if you have any questions. Number 22, just add. What is that? That's just combining like terms, guys. Of course, you want to start with the highest exponent term. What is 4c to the fourth plus another c to the fourth? It's going to be 5 c's to the fourth. And let's move on to the next highest exponent term. We have a negative c to the third and a positive 5c to the third. That's like saying 5 of those guys, take away one of those guys. That's going to be a positive 4 of those guys. You guys with me? And last but not least, we have the minus 1. I'm just going to bring that down. Minus 1. And there's my answer, which is answer A. Moving on to the next one. Number 23. Expand the expression. Dang. We're going to have to use what? Anybody? Pascal's triangle to the fourth power. Ladies and gentlemen, Pascal's triangle, where do we get that from? It's really a triangle of ones. Then you go 1 plus 1, you get 2, and put the ones on the outside again. And then 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 1 is 3, and you put the ones on the outside again. And then 1 plus 3 is 4, 3 plus 3 is 6, 3 plus 1 is 4, and you put the ones on the outside again. And you keep going as far as you need. Now keep in mind, the power of 0, if you have 0, the power of 0 is 1. Power of 1 is these two. Power of 2 is these guys. Power of 3 is these guys. Power of 4 is these guys right here. So I'm going to stop right there because this is the power of 4. And we're going to be using those values followed by 2 sets of parentheses on each one to be able to get our answer. So what I'm going to do is use the 14641 followed by 2 parentheses, and then I'm going to fill it in accordingly. Check it out. And there it is. I've put 2 sets of parentheses behind each number, and all of them have a plus sign in front of each number. So now it's a question of filling in the appropriate powers. So it is a power of 4, so you're going to take that max power of 4 and put it on the first parenthesis, which means that the second parenthesis has to be 0. And then the power of 4 on the first parenthesis drops by 1, and it becomes the power of 3 as the second parenthesis power increases by 1 to become a 1. So the 3 decreases to a 2, the 1 increases to a 2. This 2 is going to decrease to a 1, and the 2 is going to increase to a 3. And then the 1 decreases to 0, and the 3 increases to a 4. And we filled it out appropriately. Now we only need the 2 terms that actually belong in there, which is a 6x and a 2. So 6x and 2 on each one. So we have a 6x and a 2. Let me fill it in. So we filled in a 6x in the first one and a 2 in the second on all of the parentheses. Now it's a question of working on each term. Let's focus in on the first term. Now, of course, a calculator would be good, so please take it out if you have it. What is 6 to the fourth power? 1,296, and of course we have an x, and we still have the power of 4 right there, and 2 to the power of 0 is 1, which means you don't have to worry about it. Same thing with this one out here, you don't have to worry about it because 1 times 1,296 doesn't change anything. So technically that's the first part of your answer. Ladies and gentlemen, if we just take a moment and not move on to the next one or the next one, if we take a moment and look at our multiple choice answers, we already know that it cannot be A. because it has to start with 1,296. So let's move on to the second term over here. And what is 6 to the third power? Anybody? How much? 216? So we have 216x to the third. If I distribute that power of 3, let's not forget that there's a big 4 out here that I still need to multiply by. And let's not forget about the 2 to the 1 power, which is still times 2. So what I really have is 8 times 216x to the third. So what is 8 times 216? 728. 1,728x to the third. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your second term. So maybe we could check our answers and see if we already have an answer that has a second term of 1,728. And the only one that has that is D. So right off the bat, we know, or not right off the bat, but on our second term, we're already able to identify our final answer. Now, of course, the real way of completing this is to go through and do the work of all of this. That would be your third term. And then do the work of all of this. That would be your fourth term. And then do the work of all of this. And that would be your fifth term. Okay? But we could stop right there because we already could identify which is the correct answer just by the second term being 1,728 to the third power. So let's move on to number 24 here. Find the product. That's simply distributed property. So when I go 8, a to the fourth, b to the third, times negative 5, a to the fourth, b to the fourth, 8 times negative 5 is negative 40. And of course, a to the fourth times a to the fourth, you add them. You don't really multiply them, you add them. So that's a to the eighth. And then b to the third times b to the fourth, that's going to be b to the seventh because you add them together. And then when you distribute it to the other term over here, it's going to give you a negative 40 also. So you're going to have minus 40, and a to the fourth, there is no a on the second term, so a to the fourth times nothing, well, you just put it there, a to the fourth. And then b to the third times b to the third, that'll be b to the sixth when you add them together. And ladies and gentlemen, we could already see our answer right there, which would be C. Let's move on to the next one. G of x, let it be a vertical shift of f of x, which is negative x, up 7 units, followed by a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. Write the rule for g of x. So we're going to begin with, I'm just going to call it y, okay? Instead of f of x, I'm going to call it y. So I have y equals negative x. Now they say that they want to begin with a vertical shift of 7 up. That means that I need to move 7 up in the where the k value's at on our vertex form equation, right? So we're going to put a plus 7. That'll give it a shift of 7 up. So what else is next? It says followed by a vertical stretch by a factor of 2. Now remember, vertical stretch, vertical means this, up and down. Which axis is up and down? The y-axis is up and down. So what does it mean when I do a vertical stretch? I need to multiply y, which is the entire thing, by the vertical stretch that they want us to give. So you're going to multiply the whole thing by 2. That's a vertical stretch of 2. So you're really going to have y equals negative 2x plus 14. And that would be your answer right there, negative 2x plus 14, which is D.